right, so there are 3 million veterans in the U.S. today from Iraq and Afghanistan wars. 30% of those have admitted to having PTSD or mental health issues. That comes out to about 900,000 veterans in today's society, suffering from some sort of mental health issue. The ones I'll speak about today are going to be guilt, despair, and anger. As you can see, veterans come from all different places, different ethnicities, races, religious backgrounds. These mental health issues, they know no boundaries amongst who they choose to affect or what families they start playing parts in their role in their families. Okay. I'm Matt. I spent 6 years in the Army. We have a couple other veterans in here. I've seen the effects of what combat can do to people. I've seen what they're like there and then what they come back and bring back to society here. And sometimes it's not so bad. Sometimes it's really bad. It all depends on if you know what you're looking for and what you should do when the time comes. I got a little picture up here. So I know that 4 of the guys in this picture with me suffer from PTSD on an extreme scale. They're in different states, different parts of the country. I do still talk to them sometimes, but you know, just to check up and see how it goes, but we all get wrapped up in our own things. So yeah, when we left, I know that all these guys were pretty stable individuals. I never saw any issues with anybody. It wasn't until seeing on Facebook or messages between friends that I'd been deployed with that they were telling me what was going on with some of these guys. So the first one that we're going to talk about is guilt. Guilt can come from, the feeling of guilt or the emotion of guilt can come from a few different things. A lot of times it's leaving the States and going overseas and then coming back without certain individuals who aren't there on the plane ride home. And that can affect a lot of people in different ways. Some people, they take it real hard at the start, but then they migrate pretty well back into society and it doesn't affect them. Some guys, they carry that for years in the future. Sometimes it's because of a leadership position or role that maybe they feel like they could have done more or chose not to do a certain act or put one of those soldiers into a bad position without knowing what the effects were going to be of it. But another one is guilt from acts committed by yourself. So we hold a lot of values and traditions, from our families, our upbringing. Even the Bible, states, "Thou shalt not kill," or things like that. And sometimes you end up having to do things that cause you to survive at the moment, but it's something that lasts and lingers with you for a long time afterwards. So. Next is despair. What infatuated with me with despair was the definition of despair is total loss of hope. So it's a complete hopelessness that the person feels. And this happens for a variety of reasons. Visions of the past, nightmares, things like this that continue to reoccur on a daily basis or weekly basis. And it's a really hard thing to control. And then a lack of understanding from others. When you come back from certain areas, from doing certain things, it can cause you to, it's hard for others to understand. It's hard for others to put themselves in your position and understand exactly what you're going through so they can better help you, which is why when you go to the VA, a lot of the people you deal with are other veterans too, because they've either known people who have dealt with these issues or they've dealt with them themselves and they've been able to overcome them, and by doing that they feel that they can help others at the same time. The last one is anger. Anger comes in many forms. It could be a self-internalized anger. It's more of a survival mode that you can't turn off like everybody else does. So when a bad situation happens, people can turn it off and on, and sometimes veterans don't have that ability. They don't know how to turn it back off because it's been ingrained into their minds so much that they end up having to basically stay in survival mode all the time because they're always worrying that something's going to happen, or even going to the store late at night. Sometimes they say, oh, I live in a bad area, maybe I need to carry my gun more often. And then others it affects too. So a husband with his wife or kids or whatnot, they can take it out on them. To recap it, we went over guilt, despair, and anger. So the last thing I would say is that when you see those guys on the side of the road, try to, you don't have to give them money or food or anything like that, but sometimes just a few words can make the difference in somebody's heart.
I was trying to rush it here.